It's pretty likely that most of you out there have had a landlord at some point in your life. Whether it's for an apartment, a house, or a building, some landlords are better than others. And just ask Jared Alderson, owner of Kill Devil Diesel in Poplar Branch, North Carolina. His landlord has to be one of the coolest property owners you could ask for. Jared rents his shop space from Dennis Anderson, the owner of the famous Gravedigger monster truck team, which competes in Monster Jam. Yup, we're pretty jealous too. Jared actually knows Dennis and the Gravedigger team very well, as he used to work as an engine builder for Feld Entertainment, the company behind the Monster Jam events. Jared took that knowledge he learned working on monster trucks and other engines and applied it to his work at Kill Devil Diesel. His specialty is the Ford Powerstroke platform, and today we're going to give you the details of a 6-liter Powerstroke Kill Devil built for the KC Turbos race truck in this episode of Diesel of the Week.
Diesel of the Week is sponsored by Amsoil, the first in synthetics. Visit amsoil.com to learn more.
Hey everyone, Greg Jones here for Engine Builder Magazine. Today we're talking about Kill Devil Diesel's custom one-off 6-liter Powerstroke build for KC Turbos race truck. This build pushed the Powerstroke envelope even further, and that's why this engine features a lot of one-off and prototype parts. To start the 6-liter build, Kill Devil Diesel went with a factory Ford 6-liter block, which got the shop's standard machining and race prep done to it. And because this engine can split cylinder walls somewhere around 1,500 to 1,800 horsepower, Jared had to add strength to the block.
We're working on improving some of that. This will be a partially filled water jacket. It'll have a power bore ductile iron cylinder sleeve that we've specified, we've had made for us. So that'll, just to kind of strengthen up the cylinder walls. It'll have our own aluminum cylinder heads with our portwork profile that we've kind of developed over the years. The aluminum heads take 80 pounds off the nose of the truck, which is a pretty considerable reduction.
Another important partnership in the build of the 6-liter Powerstroke was with CP Carrillo, whom the shop worked with on a hybrid rotating assembly.
They've had that out for a couple of years now for the Duramax and the Cummins market. We're working with them to bring that hybrid kit, which uses a top fuel Hemi wrist pin with a forged anodized piston. And so you run a longer connecting rod. It helps the rod to stroke ratio. And so we're actually working with them to bring that to market for the Powerstroke crowd. Because of the smaller wrist pin and then the longer rod, it actually knocks almost half a pound per cylinder out of the rotating assembly. So it's really some big, and actually for the Cummins, it knocks 2 pounds per cylinder out of the rotating assembly, which is huge. If you told the NASCAR guys you could knock 12 pounds out of the rotating assembly, they'd foam at the mouth. I'm optimistic that with a longer rod and some of the geometry changes in terms of dwell time, piston speed, and some of that, we should be able to light the chargers quicker, especially with the camshaft. Of course, we'll do a different torque converter to kind of help the truck leave the line in the power band. Yep. And we'll go from like a 25 or 600 stall to probably about a 3,000 or 3,200 stall.
The Valvetrain of the 6-liter Powerstroke is another critical developmental aspect of this engine design, and Kill Devil Diesel pulled out all the stops.
As I mentioned, the solid roller kit, it is, in terms of development, into the diesel industry and getting the engines to make power higher up in the RPM band. That is one of our goals. It's really hard on parts when you make 2,500 foot-pounds of torque at like 2,200 RPM. So we're kind of trying to detune some of the torque and the cylinder pressure down low and raise those power levels up higher into the RPM range, where then you change the stress from the bottom end to the top end in the Valvetrain.
The engine comes with a Total Seal ring package that should work well with the ductile iron sleeves. It has Kill Devil Diesel's O-ring design, which is a double O-ring, one in the block and one in the head. It has the shop cylinder head with CHE ductile iron valve seats, Rev Inconel valves, billet adjustable rocker arms, and push rods from Trend Performance.
Kind of the Valvetrain setup. It's a camshaft profile that we've developed. It's a pretty big, definitely kind of street-friendly tow your camper style camshaft. It is it should move the peak power band from typically 6-liter and 6.4s tend to peak power around 3,500 RPM. And some of the other testing we've already done with this camshaft, we've been able to push that up almost to 5,000 RPM, the peak power, which is, in terms of all engines, still fairly low, but it's a big jump, and it helps, especially with our port profile. The cylinder heads, we've really found that really helped the efficiency in the higher RPM range, where they don't. If you look at a lot of 6-liter 6.4 dyno charts, they get up around 34, 35, 3600 RPM and don't start losing power, just kind of lays over and plateaus. Yeah. And so we've been able to kind of bring that power band to keep climbing until around 5,000. And, we're hoping maybe even a hair over that with this project. The camshaft in this project will be 232 degrees, 50 on the intake, 242 degrees at 50 on the exhaust. But it's a pretty aggressive in terms of diesel camshafts. Most of the street cams for this platform tend to be in the 180 to 205 degree range at 50. And so we're considerably up and over that. You run into where it's hard to trap enough cylinder pressure. You get too big of a camshaft, and it becomes harder and harder to start, especially cold. Luckily, KC Turbos is in Arizona, so they don't have that problem. But again, definitely not a street-friendly cam, but we're actually pretty happy with some of the ramp rates and stuff that we've got here, and it should be pretty gentle on the Valvetrain.
Other parts and pieces in this 6-liter are ARP 625 series head studs, an O-Dogs diesel intake manifold, Maryland Performance diesel forward-facing billet steel exhaust manifolds, a custom billet aluminum front cover, a Peterson 2-stage external oil pump, Warren diesel 400% over injectors, and, of course, a custom KC Turbos 80mm single turbo with a 2-stage nitrous controller. With all of this in one awesome engine package, Jared admits this doesn't constitute the majority of the engine builds Kill Devil Diesel does. But these are the ones he really likes because he can push the envelope of not just the Powerstroke engine, but the diesel industry in general. All said and done, this 4-wheel drive KC Turbos race truck and its 6-liter Powerstroke should be capable of making 2,000 horsepower, which is a pretty big deal for the 6-liter market. That does it for this episode of Diesel of the Week. A special thanks goes out to our sponsor AMSOIL. And remember, if you have a diesel engine you'd like to see featured, please email me at gjones@babcocks.com. Until next time, thanks for joining us.